purpose of this space is to create a very safe environment for people to share a moment of their lives. Welcome to the show, and I'm going to open by sharing with you an answer that I gave to people that found out about the show and then applied to speak. A lot of them say, what do you want us to talk about? And I tell them, well, I want to know the why behind your why. And they go, what does that mean? Like, well, most people say, you're doing something and this is why, this is why you do it. Well, I want to know what caused that why to happen. And then I was finally asked, after saying that hundreds of times, then what's your why behind your why? And then they caught me off guard because I never really thought of it.
Centrally located in the Richmond Auto Mall since 1984, Richmond Honda features a large selection of Honda certified pre-owned vehicles. Inside the showroom, Honda's newest models are displayed for viewing, and the dealership is staffed 7 days a week for financial consultation. Foodie World presents Philippine Street, featuring a large selection of Filipino foods, from imported non-perishable products to both packaged seafood and locally caught and very much alive. Foodie World is 75,000 square feet of worldly groceries situated in North Richmond. Located 1 block north of St. Paul's Hospital, Downtown Denture Center features complete and partial teeth restoration options. With 35 years experience, Anthony Chung offers mobile services and emergency repair consultation 24 hours a day. Downtown Denture Center, just off Nelson at 970 Burrard in the lobby of the Electra Building. Open 7 days a week, Kingsgate Mall features shops for both men's and women's clothing, women's fashions and accessories, and footwear for everyone, prescription glasses and contact lenses, as well as shopping for his and her jewelry. Kingsgate Mall on East Broadway at Kingsway.
Matatagpuan sa 104 and 138 na may higit sa 300 sasakyan, brand new and pre-owned, ay pwede niyong pagpipilian. Bago ka pa sa bansa, wala ka bang credit score? Walang problema. Marami kaming selection from all makes and models, and all trade-ins are welcome. Higit pang impormasyon sa sirmitsubishi.com.
So I actually I pondered this, sat in front of this person for 10 minutes in silence, trying to think about this. And then I gave them the answer. And then a couple of days later, I met up with another gentleman, and he asked me exactly the same question, and then I refined it a little bit. And when someone else asked me, I'm going, this is a test from someone up top that I really gotta get this answer down. And it goes something like this. A few years ago, more than a few is what, 3? Okay, many years ago, I was in a pretty dark space in the sense that I was going to work for the sake of working, for chasing after the almighty dollar. And then on weekends, just numbing myself with alcohol and substance abuse to survive all the pressure that I put upon myself. And it was a really dark space. And I didn't know how to get out, because why would I want to get out? So all I did was just aim down. I went further and further down the rabbit hole. Then about 5 years ago, in the world that I was in, to give you a better frame, it was like the nightlife and entertainment industry. So you're just going out and you're partying, and people are putting on these beautiful masks to hide all of the pain that they're behind, and we're numbing ourselves just to survive. Now, if you can call that an existence, when I told the story the first time, I said I was existing. When I told the story the second time, I realized what I was doing was escaping. I didn't want to deal with anything. I was just sitting there numbing myself and then going further and further down the rabbit hole because I truly believed no one would understand, no one cared, and I just got used to it. At the beginning, there was a lot of pain, and then as time went on, I just got used to it. Then about 5 years ago, a friend of mine posted up on Facebook, and I looked at her and I go, wow, you look really happy. And asked her what happened, and she got out. She got out of hell. And I was very curious, and I go, well, can you tell me what you did? And she gave me her story. And at that very moment, I realized if she could get out, I might be able to get out too. And then I asked her, so what did you do? And then we really had this heart-to-heart. And it was heart-wrenching hearing what she had to go through. But she wanted out. And at that point in time, I decided I wanted out too. So she gave me, in the dark hell that I was in, that I created in my own mind, a brief glimpse of light, and I held on to it. I reached out, held on to it, closed my eyes, and told myself, just believe, start your walk, and you will get out. You gotta believe, and you gotta get out. That's taken 5 years. Now, by telling you this story, I'm not telling you my story is right or wrong. I'm not telling you that your story is wrong, my story is right. I'm not telling you that I'm better than you. I'm not. What I am saying, though, is if you're in this space, if you think that you're just stuck, you don't know the way out, that you feel that you're all alone, and you don't know where to go, my role here is to try and give you that glimmer of light, give you that little bit of courage to say, you can get out. And it's up to you to make that choice. And then I realize as I tell the story to you now, I can metaphorically say that this space here that I'm creating is like a lighthouse, it's like a beacon, because only people that resonate with my story will say, hey, I can get out too. But by putting 5 or 6 different people with all different stories, that's 5 or 6 different glimmers of light, 5 or 6 different examples of courage that can hit different people throughout this entire year. And that's why I do what I do. All the stories presented by the speakers are personal in nature, and some of them can encroach on dark topics as addiction, abuse, self-harm, and you may be triggered by this. And if you are triggered by it, there's a beautiful lounge in the back. You can go there, give yourself a timeout, ground yourself, and then when you're ready, you can come back and join us. So, with that, now that I've taken some time, I'm going to put on the host hat, and we'll get the show started. I passed by this, I assumed she was homeless. She was sitting by a light standard. And as I walked by, she murmured the words, "I'm so cold." And then I stopped in my tracks because I know what it's like to be cold. And I truly believe that no one deserves to feel the sting of Old Man Winter's whip. It just doesn't need to happen. But at the same time, I'm not one to give money to homeless people because I don't know what they're going to use it for. So I turned around and I said to her, I'm not going to give you any money, but if you want food or soup or something hot to drink, yeah, we can go and get whatever. And she looked up at me and said, "No, thank you. I don't need anything to eat. I have something. But thank you for stopping." And I was perplexed. I was seriously, like, I had a blue screen of death in my brain. Like, what happened here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And I kept walking. And then I realized that there's, in her case, there was something that was worse than being cold. And that was being invisible. And I invite Beth Campbell up to share her story of just that.
My name is Jeevan Beth. Suki Beth has been selling quality pre-owned vehicles for 37 years. All of our vehicles come with a certified inspection report, and history reports are available for all vehicles. All of our sales staff is fully licensed. Visit SukiBathMotors.com today.
Foodie World has 75,000 square feet of imported and domestic products, with a large selection dedicated to our Filipino kababayans. With an in-house butcher, variety of seafood, and produce from around the globe. Open every day until midnight. Foodie World, 1 block east of number 3 Road off Sea Island Way in Richmond.
Wasn't sure where you were going with that. Hello, everyone. I'm Beth Campbell. 2014, life as I knew it was about to drastically change. My son died suddenly. Shortly after that, I lost my longtime job, a job that was a huge part of my life. And a few months later, my youngest child was about to graduate from high school. I'd had a school-age child in my house for 32 years. Virtually everything that I knew and did was no longer. Was I born knowing that I needed to be quiet, undemanding, and not eat much? I think in vitro, these were the qualities I learned I needed to exhibit. My older brother, who was 11 months older than me, was very demanding and a voracious eater. From stories I've been told, I was very quiet, I never made a fuss, and I hardly ate anything. Outwardly, I exhibit these qualities, but inwardly, I was quietly rebellious. As a very young child, I went to $1.49 days with my mother. Do you remember $1.49 days? $1.49 day, Woodward's, $1.49 day, Tuesday. So we went to $1.49 days, and my mother bought me this really cute little pair of red socks, which is really unusual because mostly she dressed me in brown. Practical. Later that afternoon, in my crib for a nap, I completely unraveled one of the socks. I was also known for chewing the lace off the collars of my dresses and blouses, and I would meticulously unpick the threads, holding the satin binding onto my blankets. A few years later, I was observed brazenly dancing on the table at Sunday school after acing that week's exam. Not very quiet and undemanding. Growing up, I learned it wasn't okay to be me. I needed to fit in. I needed to not rock the boat. These were the voices I heard in my head, and it was the driver of everything I did. When I was 8 months pregnant with my oldest son, I was standing in line at the deli counter, Cedar Park in Surrey. People kept coming in and getting served and leaving, while I continued to stand there. After quite a long while, I asked the person behind the counter why they weren't serving me. He said he didn't see me. I am fairly short and the counter's tall, but I was 8 months pregnant. A few years later, I was at Lumberland in the garden center with my 2 boys. I had them in a double stroller, and I loaded up the stroller with 6 flats of plants. Headed over to the cashier to pay. When I got there, there was a fellow who was going out, writing out invoices that we could take up to the cashier to pay for our plants. He went by me many times, kept going by me. Finally, I stopped him, and I said, "Why aren't you giving me an invoice?" "Oh, I didn't see you." A stroller, 2 boys, 6 flats of plants? It's really amazing to me when I think about it, how the mind, we can manifest evidence to support what we believe is true. Really curious. From time to time, growing up, I would step out of my quiet self and really live. I hung out with my brother and his friends, playing on the log booms, on the railway trestles, crouching on the braces while the trains whizzed by our heads, swinging off the rope swings, pulley ropes. There was nothing that the boys did that I couldn't do too, except that I wasn't a boy, so I didn't fit in. When I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, I was on the annual club, I was on the student council, and I performed in many drama productions. When I finished school, I felt as though I was suffocating. My mother wouldn't let me do anything, and I was so quiet I couldn't tell her what I wanted to do. So I moved out. It was quite shocking to my family, for I had never said that I wanted to move out. I just moved out. Then suddenly I felt free. I was free to be me. I was free to be the person that I wanted to be, not the person they wanted me to be. And my future husband was really drawn to the bold and adventurous person I was. We spent many years out exploring on our motorcycles and socializing with friends. That, however, was short-lived. Once I had children, mothers weren't allowed to be bold and adventurous. They needed to stay home, keep the peace. When my son was 3 years old, my older son, we had to go to Vancouver to get him fitted for some twisters. He was very pigeon-toed, and twisters are springs that go down the sides of your legs. They fasten to a waist belt and hook onto the bottom of your boots. So we went there and got him fitted, and a few weeks later we went back. We had an appointment to go back and pick up these completed twisters. When we arrived, the receptionist said, "Oh, sorry, they're not ready. You'll have to come back another day." From somewhere inside of me, I don't know where, this voice came out, and I said something like, "We just drove 70 miles. We had an appointment. You knew we were coming. Couldn't you have called and rescheduled?" My husband was mortified that I would say such a thing. He went and sat in the car. I don't think he spoke to me for 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the receptionist went out back and came back out and said, "If you could wait for 20 minutes, we'll get them ready while you wait." I learned 2 things that day. I learned that I could speak up and I could get results. And I also learned that it wasn't okay to speak up at home. After that, I really embraced my Gemini twin spirit. At home, I was the quiet, well-behaved, peacemaker, ultra-organizer. And outside, I became the advocate. I was the advocate for my children, their friends' parents, and my coworkers. Just not for myself. Oh, I've lost my spot. Honoring my gifts of service and planning, I organized and facilitated many events for my children's sports, dance, school, and my work also offered me many opportunities to be seen. On January 2nd, 2014, my son suddenly died. My son was my champion. He was my one child who really got me. He lived life to the fullest, and he encouraged me to do the same. He called me every day, often just to say hi. And he was always talking about me to his friends with pride and promoting me and really encouraging me to do different things and speak up. And then suddenly he was gone. Losing my longtime job shortly after, I worked with 700 people. I lost that job. And then my youngest daughter graduated from high school. All of these things left a huge void in my life. It was like the bottom had fallen out of my life, and it was just this giant hole. One morning, shortly after I lost my job, I was sitting in the kitchen. The sun was shining in through the kitchen window, through the prisms hanging in the window, sending dancing lights around the kitchen. As I looked over towards the sink, I saw the image of my son leaning against the sink. With his mischievous smile, I heard him say, "Mom, this is it. This is your time." I knew in that moment that my life couldn't continue the way it's been. I knew that I had to step up, that I had to stop being two different people. I needed to stop being invisible. I needed to be me full-time, all the time. I decided to go back to school. I went back to school and trained as a life coach and a professional counselor. I completed my provincial instructor diploma. I got a career development practitioner diploma. I added to my MBTI certificates. And I really did that because I don't want anyone else to be invisible or to live the way I did for 57 years. If I can inspire somebody who's 19 or 12 or 20 to get help and speak out, there's always somebody there that can help. And that's what I do, is really help people embrace who they are and really live who they are. I am who I am, not who you think I am, and not who you want me to be. I am me. This is a quote from Bridget Nicole. And from Dr. Zeus, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. Thank you.
Beth Campbell. And it finally happened really late in life, but I'm glad that it happened because I am who I am today. And I invite Bob Mueller up because he had his moment late in life as well.
All right, thank you, Winston. And wow, these guys, these stories, incredible. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be able to close the show. And I'd like to start with what a mentor of mine, Steve Sable, the president of NFL Films, once said, is that if you tell me a fact, I'll learn. If you tell me a truth, I'll believe. But if you tell me a story, it'll live in my heart forever. The story is the most important fabric that every company, every advertiser, every person in the world is fascinated by a story. But few of us look within to find our own story. And I say that that happens in a moment, in an instant. So I have a question for you. Has anyone ever had a perfect moment? I mean a moment where you vibrated, you were part of the gods, and you knew in that moment it was perfect. You see, a moment is like this. That's perfection. That is a vibration. Everything in the planet, everything in life, everything everywhere vibrates at different speeds. I believe that each one of us has a perfect vibration. The trouble is, we only have one. And we have to find that vibration that we're in tune with. You see, like attracts like. What you want wants you, and I can prove it. My story is called Finding Your Butkus. Now let me explain that. You might have noticed that I have a costume on. This is the costume of Dick Butkus, the meanest, nastiest man to ever play NFL football. And at 13 years old, he was my hero in 1969. My testosterone-soaked brain was infatuated with Dick Butkus when I saw a film called The Most Feared Man in Football.
So now that you've got to experience the space that I'm creating, and if you got a glimmer of light or a bit of courage that you yourself would like to take this stage, you can apply to speak at www.mystorymondays.com, and there's a little link that says apply to speak. Send it in and we'll get you on stage.
Models are on display at Freeway Mazda. New Mazda sedans, crossovers, and SUVs surround the facility, and fully loaded versions occupy the floor of the showroom. At Freeway Mazda, 154th Street and 104 Avenue in Surrey.
Kingsway Sushi is an all-you-can-eat restaurant with a large selection of Japanese and other Asian cuisine. The restaurant is located 5 minutes from Metrotown Center on the Vancouver side of Boundary and Kingsway.